Please join me in welcoming Robin.
All right, nice to be here. So can we have the house lights come up a little bit because I need to take a picture of the audience. Is that all right? Just a tiny bit. And those of you that are in the audience, if you would stand for me.
What are you doing with this data?
The first person to ask. So I want you guys to just take your hand up like this and just bow down like that. Once. Just once, come on. Just really quick, just wave. You're waving to my team in Atlanta. Come on, just one time. There you go. So we do this thing like Where is Waldo, but this is Where is Robin. And before you sit down, so don't get so fast to sit down, y'all are all just talking, find one person that's just standing around you and introduce yourself just really quick. Just really quick. Hi, how are you? I'm Robin.
Can I introduce myself? Oh, wait, we've already met.
Like you didn't get to meet everybody just a few minutes ago. But the biggest thing about any conference is getting to know the people that are here with you. So take that opportunity. All right, now that's enough. Now you can sit. So we're going to have a little fun. This is a little improvisational. They told me to give you 3 topics, and you're going to use Slido to vote on which one you want me to talk about. And so before I do that and jump into that, first I want to tell you a little bit about me, and then you can tell me which one of those 3 things interests you. Is that okay for you to hang out for a few more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
So I was born in Valdosta, Georgia, in a rural area. Grew up, always wanted to get my master's or engineering degree at Georgia Tech. Wound up getting my engineering degree through Cambridge University in England, and then wound up finishing up my master's at Georgia Tech. I didn't start working for AT&T in my undergraduate years, but in my master years. And while I was getting my master's, I had to recover 9/11. So when you're doing your master's and you're recovering 9/11, it continues to be a challenge. I was AT&T's executive that ran the global networks and was their chief compliance officer for environment, health, and safety. I left AT&T to go to BlackBerry. And the reason I went to BlackBerry, and of course somebody's calling me on the phone, I went to BlackBerry because one of my patents that I wrote at AT&T was on the BlackBerry at that time. And I know Christine was talking about how she didn't get a mobile device and email and stuff till after 1998. And I'm like, okay, well, I date that a lot because my first mobile phone when I was at AT&T, my bill every month was around $11,000. So you have to kind of understand the differences in where we are.
My parents would have been upset.
So I went to work for BlackBerry, and as BlackBerry's non-device person, I was the person, the CIO, the CISO, the CTO for software, and I ran the enterprise business unit, and I built and established their product security team. From there, when I joined BlackBerry at the very beginning of 2007, I was there through a very fast rise and a fall, and I actually exited the 2 CEOs and helped them with transition to the new CEO. 3 minutes after leaving BlackBerry, I got a phone call from a company called Samsung. Do you see my Samsung device? And I began to work for them a year later because I had to sit out as an officer of a company. You can't always go back in to work for the competitor. So I worked for Samsung for 3 years. And in my second year, when my contract was coming up, I said, I really don't want to do this anymore. I really want to start something of my own. The CEO from Samsung Electronics and then the CEO from Mobility flew into Atlanta and said, but Robin, what do you want to do? I said, I want to start my own company. Well, what's the name of your company? My company's name is Emnovate. What does that mean? It means embrace innovation. Okay, so they pull a napkin over to the side and they write that down and they said, okay, we're your first customer. I said, great. So I have a company that helps other companies realize innovation, whether it be inside the company or outside the company. I try to marry those 2 challenges. And we got 3 topics that we're going to put up and we're going to vote on.
Yeah, so we're going to bring up, if you want to bring up Slido, And we are going to do a quick vote to see what Robin's going to talk about this morning.
So we want to talk about cyber, because I can talk about cyber all day long. Second one is innovation. And the third one is the future of technology.
All right, so take just a moment, fill that out.
Just remember I have you on camera. No, I'm...
Okay, looks like people are voting for
innovation. All right. All right, we'll do innovation.
Right.
And a lot of you probably have a chief enterprise innovation officer, or an innovation officer, or somebody who's head of innovation. Show of hands real quick. Do you have that? I'm losing my mic. Can you guys hear me? There you go. So the moment you put a title on somebody in your organization, it's almost as if you have ripped innovation from everybody else. Because now you've put somebody who's in charge of innovation. It's going to be that person's fault if they're not innovative, we're not innovative. And it's not the right thing to do, because then you're actually suffocating innovation inside of your business. So it's a well-known fact that probably for the course of most of our lives, innovation has happened inside the corporate walls. And just over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, 85 to 90% of innovation is happening outside the corporate walls. So if you're in a corporation today, I could tell you right now, you're not being innovative. You think you are. You might be doing some things that are incremental to innovation, but you're really not innovative. Because innovation really would cause you to disrupt something you do today. In a lot of cases, corporations are scared of disrupting the business that they're in today. And I'll give you a little example. The Tide Company decided to put everything in little pods and provide pods out to the market. Clever idea, it's a self-serve type of idea, it's wonderful. It actually hurt their bottom line. Because when I use detergent, what do? We just turn the bottle over and dump, and you put it back. Well, now you've got somebody who's got a pre-measured amount, and they're not going to buy as much off the shelf. Now, if you watch the Tide commercials or the commercial with pods, you'll notice that they're holding 2 in their hand now and throwing them in the machine. It's because it actually hurt their business model. So you really have to understand what innovation is going to do with you or without you. But I will tell you, innovation is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And disruption is just on the forefront. And if you're not planning for that, or if you're not engaging in that, then you can't actually keep your company in a role that's thriving. So I was talking to a company that makes autonomous driving vehicles. And the conversation went like this. Who do you think your biggest competitor is? And they said, the usual suspects. You know, Robin, it's all these Ford Motor, blah, 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 motor companies. They're all in that automotive industry. And I said, well, not really. I said, your biggest competitor is the person that's carrying a device like this, who's making them. Because a long time ago, the device used to have a wheel, and your car or automobile is becoming a mobile device just with wheels. And instead of your mobile device, you carrying your mobile device, the new mobile device will be carrying me around. And I said, so you have to think about your space a little differently. Now, when you think of the energy space, and I've been walking around listening to the energy and the energy activities that are going on here, there's not a lot of energy. Where'd the energy go? Is it the regulations and all the regulations got you in trouble? Or holding you back? Or a good excuse not to innovate? Or not to disrupt something that you're doing? I had a very good lesson when I went to work for Samsung. It was probably the best MBA anybody could ever get. I walked into my very first meeting, and I was their Chief Enterprise Innovation Officer. So I got the title. And yes, I worked with the executive team as well as all the work teams. And the first thing I did is I got to look at their strategy for mobility. And then I got to look at their strategy and review it for electronics. And what's interesting is they plan out what they're going to do and what their numbers look like for the next 3, 5, and 10 years. And a lot of us probably are just still planning on this year, and we're in this year, and in some cases, maybe thinking about next year. But we really don't have a true plan. Now, mind you, they don't put their plan out anywhere, but it was very instrumental for me to be able to sit there and talk through that plan with them. And as I reviewed that plan, that review was supposed to last maybe an hour to 2 hours. It was the whole day. Because, of course, I'm very inquisitive, and I was asking a lot of questions. And then I was asking why this wasn't happening or that wasn't happening. So it just got me more strategy reviews. They actually have 83 affiliate businesses, 500,000 employees, with the majority of them outside of South Korea. And my office was in Suwon, South Korea. And they love us Americans, and they love our way of life, and that is something they are bringing to their country as well. And the interesting thing there is, the reason they hired somebody like me is to add an element of creativity into the mix. So I started Samsung Business Services for them globally because they're a hardware company. They need that complement. But at the same time, I was in a session with them, and they were just grilling somebody. And the gentleman, his budget the year before was supposed to be $47.3 billion. And he had made 46.8. So he missed it by a few points. And I thought, wow, 46 billion, you're 46.8, that's almost 47. And they were wanting him at 47.3. And I'm sitting in this room and I'm thinking they're just grilling and grilling and grilling him over his budget. Well, that's not what was happening at all. So that's what we would have seen, seeing that kind of environment and the dialogue that was going on in the room. They were actually trying to figure out how the people that did the forecast for that year and then for the subsequent years missed his budget target. It was not that they were blaming the individual for not delivering. They were trying to figure out how what they had planned that year, which that plan would help the subsequent years, had some wrong points in it. Now, to be top of innovation, every time they get into innovation or a new idea or a new product, they build a second team. So they have two teams. One that is supposed to be charging down the path and the other one that's supposed to try to beat it. And at the end of the day, whichever one wins, it's great, but the first team they celebrate is the one that failed. Because the team that failed actually made the team that won even better than they would have been to begin with. And those are not things we do in our business. In fact, we actually see failure within our corporation as, oh my gosh, she's going to go be put in the box, or she can't do that, or he can't do that, or, you know, they should have been able to cut that over this weekend and they weren't able to do it and we had an outage, or this, that, and the other. Somehow or another, we need to be celebrating failures and capturing the learnings and failing fast and prodding on the other team to be even more successful the next time they get out the door. So I automated all of AT&T's global network. So typically in any job I have what they call a day job. My day job is typically something in operations, something in Bell Labs, something at BlackBerry where I ran the whole operational unit. But then my afternoon job would be how are we changing things, how are we disrupting things, and who we were going to buy or invest in that we would have to bring in later to actually help us turn that corner. And doing that also for Samsung. So you have that day job, you have that evening job, and really the one that matters most is that evening job, because that's the one that will make not the company survive, but the company thrive. So if you're only working on those things that make the company survive, are you really helping that next generation, the group that's going to be there 3, 4, 5 years down the road, your children that are going to be in this environment, be in a sustainable space? Are you really helping prod things along? Or are you just treading water in a place that you don't think you can get anything done? So I'll tell you one story about AT&T. I had, of course, running the global union team here in the United States, but global operations. Anytime we had an outage of any sort, you had to be able to communicate to your customers really fast. Well, that's hard to do. And in the days that the mobile device started coming out, all of a sudden, all this nice digital capability came about. But the rules and regulations around our union actually stopped us from doing a lot of things. So I took the union rule book home with me one night, if y'all have seen some of these regulatory books. Took it home, took a nice read, and thought, okay, I'm going to automate our network. And I'm going to do it in a way that it's fast response to a customer so the customer knows what's happening in the network. And if we've isolated their data center, headquarters, whatever it is, at least they will have an awareness of this is what's happening, this is when we believe it's going to get resolved, and here we've switched you over to your backup. Or you don't have a backup, would you like one? And that way you had the choice of saying, hey, don't come into work today, we're going to take the day off, y'all go home, and then tomorrow we'll be back on, or it's just been an hour impact. But at least it allows you to make that decision. Right now, we're just flying by the seat of our pants. We show up to work, maybe things are working, maybe they aren't. So I put this automation in place. I started in one place where I thought it would be very beneficial. We had a lot of old technology. The team actually was aging around this technology, and we couldn't attract anybody into that technology. And I like making up words. So one of my friends gave me a new word, and it's called boo-lineal. That means you're a baby boomer with millennial tendencies. So if you're a boo-lineal, you're somebody who stirs things up all the time. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go talk to this team because they know that they're all getting ready to retire. There's nobody in our pipeline that wants to come and do their job. And we really want to get them moving. They automated their own space into a system which captured their knowledge. This was back in 1998. And it's running and automating that environment and allowing the people to work on the exceptions. And now they're adding machine learning to it. And pretty soon they'll be able to operate with AI. But if you don't get started, the journey never starts. And innovation will continue to occur, but it won't occur in your space. So my question to all of you is, what are you doing about that in your organization? Or are you pointing at the person in your organization that has the title of Chief Innovation Officer? Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Robin. That was amazing.